Hello, and welcome to Let the Growth Flow, a spiritual place to heal mind, body, and soul. My name is Alexis, and I'll be your host. My hope for this podcast is to help people learn about all things spiritual, at the same time allowing themselves to heal in any way that they need to. I plan to do that by sharing my own spiritual experiences, as well as bringing other spiritual mentors onto the show. Hello, and welcome back to Let the Growth Flow. I want to say hello because it's been a couple weeks since I have posted an episode, and I'm not going to apologize for that because I'm trying to not apologize for my emotions. I'm learning that all emotions are okay and they're not good or bad. So in honor of that, I'm not going to apologize for that. But I do want to let you guys know that I have been processing and struggling with life a little bit, and that's why I couldn't show up to record podcast episodes. And I'm going to talk about it today. In honor of the podcast itself too, and bringing growth to all my listeners through the things that I'm growing through in life right now. And I want to say too, I've tried to record. Excuse me, I'm also getting over being sick, and I'll talk about that in this episode too. So I will apologize for the coughing that might occur during this episode. But I did try to get on and record a couple times, and I couldn't. It wasn't coming from a place of learning and growth. It was coming from a place of hurt and sadness. And that's okay too, because I think through trying to record the episodes, it helped me grow and process my feelings and emotions more. But today I feel like I finally gained clarity and understanding, and I wanted to pop on right away and record this episode and get it out because I know that so many other people are probably experiencing this same thing right now or have in the past. And sometimes it's hard because you can't understand or put a name to why you're feeling what you're feeling. And then once you can, it's like the clouds kind of clear, the darkness kind of clears a little bit. So I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off first by just saying that I had a lot of other things happen in the past month, but the two really big things and the past 5 months, oh my gosh, let's rewind. A lot has happened in my life, the past 5 months, past year, so much, but specifically the last month, two really big things happened in my life. And one of them was my father was sentenced to prison for 8 years, and he is currently in jail. And the other is my fiance and I broke up. So those were two really, really huge life changes for me that triggered a lot of sadness, confusion, hurt, pain, and then they triggered a lot of other emotions and past traumas too that I've been trying to handle and deal with. And this is what I wrote down for today's episode, so I'm going to just read it. But this is how I've been feeling, and these were the things that came to me that were kind of able to let my clouds clear and let me get out of this darkness a little bit. I learned that life doesn't look like the way it always has for me. Like, doesn't look the same that it used to look. Things have dramatically changed, and they don't look or feel the same way, and it's hurt me a lot. It took me a long time to get to a point of understanding this change, and it's been draining at the fact that my life has looked so different. I haven't known how to begin to understand how to grieve the loss of the things I used to have, but I no longer have. But I also have new and different things in my life that are exciting and good and in a lot of ways better, but I haven't been able to accept them and enjoy them truly because I'm still grieving the loss of this different life that I used to have. I'm learning to accept them, but I am not really sure how to be happy with them yet because there's been so much change that has surrounded me. in the past month and 5 months, but especially this last month, I felt so lost, confused, hurt, and alone more than I ever have in my entire life. And that's because of this intense change. And I've learned that that's okay. I've learned that I'm moving through a period in my life that is ever changing, and I know it is bringing me to a new place. And that's okay too. We often fight change because we are comfortable. We get so used to feeling safe and comfortable, and when the change happens, it hurts. We fight it, but I'm learning that it's okay. And I know that this middle ground and the uncertainty and the lostness that I've been feeling is temporary. And I know that this change is happening to clear space in my life for new opportunities and things. But it's been hard, and that's okay. I wanted to say all of that because I don't know how often I have at least talked about change with my friends and like my family and been told that it's really okay for change to happen, but that it hurts, that change is hard and it hurts and it can cause some intense sadness and confusion and lostness, and that's okay. And I wanted to talk about this change too because it also created in my mind, I thought that I needed to have these timelines of when I needed to be okay by, and that I had to keep showing up. And the truth of the matter is, I think I'm still processing the fact that I moved to California. That's a huge change still in my life. And then all these other changes have happened too since I've moved here. And I look back at my life 5 months ago compared to now, and actually nothing is the same. I'm getting emotional. And again, I'm not going to apologize because I'm learning that there's no bad emotions. They're just emotions and they're okay. But my life is not even one bit the same that it was 5 months ago. And that's scary and it's sad to me, but it's also exciting. This change and working through this change also threw me out of balance. And that's another thing I want to talk about is balance. Balance and finding balance through change and through hard times. Because I'm also realizing I was just getting emotional at me saying that my life, nothing in my life is the same as it used to be 5 months ago. And I had a lot of comfort in my life 5 months ago, and security and safety. And I thought that everything was perfect and that I was so happy. And it has all been ripped away from me. And that's okay. But I'm realizing that the comfort and the safety and the security is what made me feel so good. I'm still processing and learning each day. So you guys were a part of that one. But finding balance through these hard times is difficult because we are thrown so off kilter. And I wanted to share a podcast that I recently listened to and found through a friend that I'm so grateful she sent it to me. But the podcast is called the Soul Awakening Podcast. And if you're into anything spiritual and want to learn more, I strongly recommend this podcast. It is amazing. I've listened to maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and I've learned so much from those 4 episodes. But this particular episode was with a woman named Joy Esler, and it was titled Understanding Our Emotions with Chinese Medicine. And through this episode, it was talking about how there's 5 elements, and those 5 elements surround us and are within us. And the elements also correlate to emotions and different organs in our body. And when one's out of balance, they all are out of balance, and it can cause chaos within us. And I wanted to talk about this intense change, especially in the last month of my father and my fiance, triggered me into being so out of balance. All the other changes within the last month I was able to handle with a little bit more grace, but these 2 happening very close to the same time threw me way out of balance. And then I began not wanting to cope or feel my emotions. And I was going out with friends and I was keeping myself busy instead of allowing myself to feel. And me keeping myself busy and not allowing myself to feel caused me to go even more out of balance. And it eventually led to me getting sick, which it can do that. But I am not going to pretend I know all the things when it comes to that. I know that they correlate with Reiki also. When one chakra is out of balance, it can throw the rest of them out of balance and not processing emotions. But you guys should go listen to this podcast episode. But it was another really interesting thing for me to listen to and realize that it's essential to find balance or a sense of balance as best as you can through these hard changing times. And I want to say the other thing is don't put timelines and expectations on yourself, because it's not what life's about. And we don't do ourselves any good when we say, I'm going to be okay in 2 weeks. I just need 2 weeks and then I'll be okay. And that's something I told myself too. I was like, I just need 2 weeks. I need time to process. Time heals all wounds. And while that's true, I was putting a different time limit on something that didn't need a limit, that I just needed to give myself actual time to process with myself, and I wasn't doing that. So I guess I am urging you all to sit with that idea of balance and ask yourself the question, what brings me balance? How can I bring more balance into my life? And with that, I also wanted to end with this meditation, and I'm going to shout out the medium in the middle also, because I learned Reiki with her, and she reads this at the end of her Reiki courses. And she read this meditation in a podcast episode a couple weeks ago, and I really needed to hear it then, going through this journey of change and balance. So I wanted to share it with you guys. And it's from a book called Wheels of Life. And I also read this book in Ireland, and I read this meditation. So I think that's why it made me even more emotional, is that was another time I was going through intense change. But through reading this book is about the 7 chakras. And I highly recommend this book to anybody. It goes into detail on what each chakra represents, what body parts it goes with, what emotions. There's meditations and practices and exercises in each chapter of this book for each chakra. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I highly recommend it. But I wanted to read this meditation too, because I feel like it beautifully captures change and balance, and that everything will be okay. And I'm going to try to get through it without crying, but no promises. If you're listening, I invite you to close your eyes and relax and enjoy this. You have gone on a journey. You have touched, you have tasted, you have seen, and you have heard. You have loved and lost and loved again. You have learned, you have grown, you have arrived at your destination intact. And now, at the end of the journey, you are almost home. There is but one step left, the biggest and the smallest of them all. It is the biggest, for it takes us the farthest. It is the smallest, because we are already there. There is one more door to open, and it contains the key to all that has beyond. You hold that key, but you cannot see it. It is not a thing. It is not a way. It is a mystery. Allow yourself to review the places you have gone, remembering the touch of flesh to earth, the flow of movement and power, the song of love in your heart, the memories imprinted in your mind. Who is it that remembers? Who has traveled on this journey? Is it your body? Then what has guided you? What is it that has grown? Through what have you traveled? Who now would hold that key that can't be seen, the key that cannot lock? The answer to this is the key itself. All wisdom is within you. Nothing is beyond you. The kingdom is before you, within you, around you. It is in your mind, which is but one mind in a sea of many, connected, contained, intelligent, and divine. It is the seat of the gods, the pattern of creation, the immensity of the infinite, the endless unfolding petals of the lotus, fully blooming and connecting all the way to earth. We find it in our thoughts. Beyond form, beyond sound, beyond light, beyond space, beyond time, our thoughts flow. Below, behind, above, around, and through, our thoughts flow. Within, without, before, and after, our thoughts flow. Droplets in an endless sea, the song of mind is infinite. We have come full circle and the pattern is complete. We are the thoughts that make the pattern, and we are the pattern that makes the thoughts. From whence do our thoughts arise? Where do they go when they rest? And who is it that perceives them? Deep within ourselves, we find a place to open up our mind. Through starry heavens, ever climbing, matter's solid threads unbinding. Out beyond for heaven's veil, the Father rules the starlit trail. In patterns bright, perceived by sight, our thoughts turn over day through night. Through our thinking, ever linking, winding, weaving wisdom's webs. Ancient patterns, flows and ebbs. Auspicious Shiva, Lord of sheep, your meditation brings us deep to ancient wisdom found within, a sacred place where we begin. An ending, here we shall return. Reconnected, we have learned to know divinity inside and bring it forth with honored pride. The key within our minds we hold to mysteries we shall unfold, gateway to the worlds beyond, in sacred space and peace we bond. I just want to leave you all with the words of advice to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and just embrace life where you're at the best you can. Thank you for listening. See you next time.